Hello and welcome to Bourbon Rocks. Tonight we're going to review Eagle Rare from Buffalo Trace. Now this is the 10-year version, the standard version of Eagle Rare. It's from the #1 mash bill from Buffalo Trace, which is the low rye mash bill. Now we've already reviewed the 17-year-old Eagle Rare from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, and it is absolutely fabulous. Okay, I thought it was the second best bourbon from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection after the William LaRue Weller, the wheated version. I thought the Eagle Rare 17 was better than the Stag from the BTAC. Even though the Stag was a much higher proof, the Eagle Rare had a lot more flavor, a lot more fruitiness and sweetness than the Stag did. And so we're going to see if the 10-year Eagle Rare holds up. Now this is a much more affordable bourbon, easier to find. It is Buffalo Trace, so it's going to be allocated, and this is going to not last very long on the shelves. If you happen to be in the liquor store when they open up a case, or you're lucky for the drop or anything, then you can get it. It's not that hard to find, and it's much more affordable. But it is Buffalo Trace, so it's going to go fast. So this is the Eagle Rare 10-year, the standard version of Eagle Rare. It is bottled at 90 proof. Now the 17-year-old from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, that Eagle Rare was bottled at 101 proof, so significantly higher. So this is 7 years younger and 11 proof points lower. Let's try Eagle Rare 10-year from Buffalo Trace. Got my little Eagle Rare Glencairn glass. Now obviously this isn't the first time I've ever had Eagle Rare. I love this bourbon. I've had it for years and I think it's very, very good. This is the first time I'm reviewing it on Bourbon Rocks. But this is clearly not the first time I've ever had this bourbon, and I do already have some preconceived notions because I know I like it. But let me see if I can actually describe it to you in a way that you can understand whether you're going to like it or not. So we're going to look at the color first, and it's a reddish brown, a little bit deeper color, a little more reddish color than you get with some of the bourbons. But it's 10 years, so you're going to pull up a lot more color from that barrel. The body is medium to full, not super high body, but certainly not light. I call it medium to full. Now on the nose, I can already tell you, Eagle Rare is a much fruitier bourbon than you get. Now, the interesting thing about it is the Stag, for example, and the E.H. Taylor, which we did some review just recently of several of the E.H. Taylors, from the small batch, the single barrel, the barrel proof, and even the 4-grain. But the E.H. Taylors and the Stags, George T. Stagg and Stagg Jr., or what they simply just call Stagg now, and the Eagle Rares all come from the same mash bill, that mash bill #1 from Buffalo Trace. So you would think that they'd be fairly similar, but I think they're quite different. A lot of it may have to do with the warehouse in which they're aged, what floor they're on. There's a lot of other things that can impart flavors other than just the mash bill. So immediately when we nose Eagle Rare, and you've got that fruitiness, that there's some apple here. That's an interesting note that I hadn't really picked up before. Obviously the raisins and the cherry, which is common for Buffalo Trace. Cola, almost like a cherry cola. You got a little bit of a minty spice, I think. It reminds me a little bit of like Dr. Pepper, that spicy cherry cola. But there's that raisin, and there's an interesting little apple note. I find that fascinating. Didn't really expect that one. We'll go to the palate. What I love about Eagle Rare is that very creamy mouthfeel. It's really full on the palate. It's almost like a cream donut kind of. There's some fruit there again, berry fruits, raspberry. I thought that the 17-year was like a blackberry bomb. This is a little bit more raspberry. There's some chocolate, and there's a maltiness as well, almost like those Whoppers, those little chocolate malt balls. I get a little bit of cocoa, and I get that maltiness. and it's very sweet. The spice comes kind of maybe in an allspice way. There's definitely a glazed feeling, glazed donut feeling to it. Very sweet. Got the fruitiness from the berry, some cocoa and some maltiness like a chocolate malt ball. And then a little bit of the spice coming in the way of allspice, and maybe just a little bit of mintiness and so forth. Very, very good. I just love Eagle Rare. The finish, let's take another sip and see how long it lasts. Finish is medium. It's not excessively long, but it does. I think the Taylor had a bit longer finish, at least with the single barrel. This is about a medium finish, but it finishes very sweet. Again, that kind of glazed donut type flavor is hanging on to the tongue at the end. Comparatively, clearly not anywhere as good as the 17-year-old from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, but no one would expect that. You know, the BTAC is one of the best set of bourbons on the planet, and also the BTAC Eagle Rare is 7 years older and 11 proof points higher. But this is a 10-year bourbon at 90 proof. It could use a little bit more proof on it, but I like the 10-year aging. There's definitely some aged barrel notes there. It's very good, very sweet, fruity. I love Eagle Rare, very sweet, fruity bourbon. This is extremely accessible as far as Buffalo Trace products go. That and the flagship Buffalo Trace, probably the easiest ones to get. So you won't have any trouble really finding Eagle Rare. As Buffalo Trace, is undergoing their billion-dollar expansion project and building more rick houses and hopefully putting out a whole lot more product. It will make it so that you can find Eagle Rare anytime you walk in the store. This is going to easily be better than a daily drinker. I'm giving it a queen. It's a very, very good bourbon. It certainly can be a daily drinker, but it's to me it's just a slight bit elevated. For a common bourbon, I love Eagle Rare 10. I'm gonna give this a queen. A very, very, very good bourbon. It's not an excessively or extremely high-end bourbon, but it is extraordinarily good. One of the best daily drinkers you're gonna find. So that is Eagle Rare 10-year from Buffalo Trace, the standard version of Eagle Rare. Check us out on bourbonrocks.com. Thank you very much for watching the video.